Hi, welcome to episode 115 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarn. And we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Sunday, December 11th, and it is a little bit early in the morning, and I sat down to make a recording. So I hope that you have had a wonderful week. It has been kind of busy here at work. We are gearing up for all the end of the year things. This coming week is the board meeting and a whole bunch of parties. And so there was lots to do this week in preparation for that. And then yesterday was a super busy day around the house. I actually cleaned everything up and got all of the Christmas decorations out. So now our tree is up and I wrapped all the presents and I did a little bit of tech editing work and I got a little bit of knitting done. And yeah, it was just a crazy busy day. And I feel super accomplished. And today is going to be for some fun. I am leaving in just a little while to go over to a friend's house for a dye day. That's DYE. And I am bringing some yarn and one finished object to do some over dyeing. And she actually has like a little photography development lab / dye kitchen in her basement. And we have done this once or twice before and we go over. It's a very small area, so only one person can be sort of working with the dyes at a time, but that's fine because the rest of the basement is pretty open. And so we just hang out and knit and just have a good afternoon. So I am getting ready to leave for that, so I'm recording kind of early. It's still 9:30 in the morning. It is dark and cold outside, but actually I think the dark days sometimes give us the best light. I guess I shouldn't wear this shirt because it makes me look half dead with the gray, but it's my favorite shirt. If I can't take my yarn, I'm not going. Which sounds like the perfect shirt for a knitter. So that's kind of what's going on here. I didn't make any show notes today, so I'm going to fly by the seat of my pants, and we'll see how that goes. So, tea. I am drinking again. I know I just drank this a couple weeks ago, the Downton Christmas tea. It is one of my favorites, especially when it's cold and getting towards the holidays. It is a black tea with mulling spices, so it is nice and spicy and good for a morning, and I am drinking that in one of my Downton Abbey mugs. I have a couple of these that I actually purchased off of eBay because I didn't make it to Cost Plus World Market on Black Fridays, but for the last several years they have done Downton Abbey giveaways. So it is a Downton Abbey Christmas this morning. And that's delicious as always. So let's go to the knits. It's going to be a little boring this week because everything I show you, you will have seen before, but I am making progress on my end of the year trying to get things off the needles. So I am happy with that. The first thing, and I did not organize this in the best order here, the first thing that I have to show you is a finished milkweed sock. This is sock number 1. This is the milkweed pattern from Knit Filament, or Filament issue number 1. The sock is by Ann Podlesak, and the yarn is Nerd Girl Yarns. It is her Dingo base, which is the Tweedy. It's got the flex in it, and it is called Met Him on the River. So I am very happy with this sock. It's a very pretty sock, and I've been having fun knitting with the yarn, and I was a little afraid that the variegated would take away from the pattern, but I don't think it does too much. I think it's just a pretty simple pattern, so it's kind of nice. So that is the first one done. I finished this yesterday. I will be taking it with me today so I can cast on the second one, and I am sure that I will finish these by the end of the month, which will make me happy. So yes. So that is what I am working on, and it is, I can't give away too much of the secret sauce, but it is a cuff down to the toe, and then a heel flap and gusset. So, and if you are interested in the pattern, again, it's the Milkweed Socks by Ann Podlesak. So that is whip number 1. WIP number 2 is the Sowerby by Annika Baranti, and that is a shawl, and I am making progress. This probably is one of the most boring knits that I can show you right now, because it's all one color and it's just a big garter rectangle. You can see that there is some subtle variation because the fibers that I spun up were semi-solid, so there is some subtle variation. It is a dark burgundy, and when I measured last night, I am up to 18 inches. I need to get to 4 feet. This one may not be done by the end of the year, and if I have to carry this one over, I will do so pretty happily. I love garter stitch. I find it soothing. I can't wait to wear it. And I have been knitting this one in the evenings after I spin, after I knit my Advent square, blanket square, and I have been knitting this while I have been reading library books. So, because it's perfect since there's no counting and no pattern, I can just knit, and read, and it has been fabulous, and that's why I've made a decent amount of progress this week. So, I will continue working on that, and if this carries over into the new year, that is okay by me. So, I just don't think at the pace I'm going, I will finish it, because I have other things that I want to do as well. So, but I want to keep working on this so that I have the shawl hopefully by the end of January, because I would really, really, really like to wear a garter stitch shawl. It has gotten quite cold. It has been, it was in the 20s most of this week, and it's supposed to kind of go up to the 30s and 40s and then back down to the 20s and single digits. So it is quite chilly here, and I am looking forward to warm woolies. Next on the WIP list is my Cozy Memories blanket and my Advent squares. So, when we last left off, I can't remember whether we left off on day 3 or 4. So I had the Juliana's fibers with the neon rainbow. I don't think I had done 4 yet. This is the Yarn Geek Super Geek in Boxcar Gallery. That is what I knit my niece's sockhead hat out of. This is some Jill Draper Make Stuff Hudson, which is her superwash merino in bottle green. It is a bright, bright, bright green. I don't think the monitor is doing it justice. This is a sparkle mini that I got from Owl About Yarn on Etsy. This is, this blue one is this blue one is from Owl About Yarn again. I have some blue ones from a different one. This is Woolly Wonka Ceridwen sock in copper rivet, which is just a beautiful kind of orangey yellow. Fabulous. And this one is Yarn Ink in Stardust. I ordered some minis from her shop to try her yarn. So, and then I have one other, because that finishes the up column on this side, except for the one in the corner, but I need the square here before I can do that. So now I'm going back over to the corner of the top, and yesterday's square was, of course, Applejack from Martin's Lab, from the hat for my niece. So I have this section to do, kind of finish this one across the top, and then I will be ready to move on to my border. And I have been weaving in ends as I go. This whole side, just to show you the back, this whole side, all the ends are woven in. So it's just the top now that I'm still working on. What I do is I do 3 or 4 squares, and then I weave in a whole bunch of ends. And then I do another 3 or 4 squares, and then I weave in a whole bunch of ends. So, and I didn't bring it today. I'll bring it next week. I have the purple. It's a dark, dark, dark purple in Cascade Heritage that I'm going to use to do an I-cord edging around the edge of this blanket. And I hope that it will tie all the colors together. And so this is my blanket. And I am so, so happy with it. It is going to be a great lap blanket. So that is that one. And I am having fun with doing a square a day for Advent. That has been a super fun process and gotten me back into it. So that is all that's on my knitting needles. I did pull out some yarn for a Christmas Eve cast on for socks. So I have that ready to go. The knit along, craft along is still open in the group for gifts. That is finish a gift for someone other than yourself, and you can post it in there. The craft along means it can be knit, spun, woven, crocheted, sewn. Just post a picture in the thread. It has to be completed between November 1st and December 31st, and prizes will be drawn the first couple days of January. So I think that's it for knitting. So let's move on to spinning. This one's going to be kind of a quick episode because I don't have a ton to show you for this week. Last week I showed you a fun braid from a Spun Right Round. It wasn't named because she she uses what's left over at the end of the day and calls them color play braids. It was pink and yellow, and I said it was slate. It turned out it was purple. And so I have a super fun squishy skein here. I think it's getting a little washed out in the monitor because the pink is quite a bit brighter, but it's got pink and yellow and purple, and it's super fun. This is 100% merino. It is not superwash. It is still a little bit wet, so I don't have an accurate measurement on it, but I'm guessing somewhere between 300 and 350 yards, and this would make fun winter accessories. It is super soft and next to the skin. It would make fun house socks, even though they're not machine washable, so I think it would be super fun, and that will go up in the shop this week, probably in the next day or two. Like I said, I need to let it finish drying and do some weighing and measuring once it is dry. So that brings me to what I will spin this week, and this is braid 52 for the year. Now it's a bit of a misnomer because some of the things that I've spun, I've counted as one, and they are more than that. Like the pound spin of the Southern Cross fiber that I did for Spinzilla, I counted that as one spin. So it's not entirely accurate, but this is the 52nd spin. So this is in Flanders Fields. It is a Southern Cross fiber. It is a Rambouillet and silk blend, which I have never spun before. I think he got it specially blended for the club, and it's purples and reds and blues, and I am super excited to see how this spins. I love Rambo. It is super soft and super puffy. It's got a really nice crimp, and then I don't know what the addition of silk will do to it, but the braid itself is absolutely gorgeous. So I am excited to spin this week. This one will be for the shop, so if these are your colors, keep an eye out. And that is what I am doing. I did end up actually putting my reel away yesterday because with the Christmas tree in the living room, it is just too much space. So I will be pulling out my mini spinner and working on that through Christmas, just because it takes up much less of a footprint in the living room. And now that is my 52nd braid, I'm doing that one for the shop. I may try and squeeze in some of the things for my hap shawl. I still have 3/4 of a pound or 12 ounces of the Corriedale Cross that I need to spin for that. And I also have the final contrast color, which is it's an organic merino in a pretty like turquoise teal. It's called Tide Pool. And I have that to spin. So I haven't decided if I'm going to spin those sort of during Christmas or if I'll pick out more braids for the shop. But that is what I will be up to. So this has been a super short podcast. I will maybe talk a little bit about some of the alongs that I have decided to participate in next year. Just a little bit of 2017 planning. You know me, I can't live in the moment. It's December 11th. We must think about 2017. Some of the things that have come up on my radar or things that I want to commit to doing next year. The first is that I am going to make my commitment to doing 52 braids again in 2017. Or basically that's 13 pounds. It's a braid a week of fiber. And I have done that for the last several years now. And I have, I think pretty much since it started with the, there is a group on Ravelry which started in maybe 2010 or 2011, and it was 10 pounds in 2010, 11 pounds in 2011, etc. And I started with them probably 2012. So I've been spinning with them for a while, but over the last, I think this is the third year that I have decided to do sort of the 52 braids in the year. And I have found that to be a really good workable amount for me. I don't spin every week. There are usually a few weeks in the year that I take off when we're traveling or doing other things. But I sort of make up for it during Spinzilla and during Tour de Fleece. And it gives me a new spin every week. It gives me materials to put up in the shop, and also things to knit with, things to give away for the podcast. And it means that I am constantly spinning. I don't know that I spin every single day. In fact, I'm sure I don't spin every single day. But in order to get a braid done a week, it means that I spin probably 4 to 5 days that week. And that is good for me. So I'm going to do that again. And in conjunction with that, I'm sort of going to double dip because Anne of Woolly Wonka Fibers has decided to do a Spin Your Stash in 2017. And basically the only rules are that you must spin from your fiber stash. And she is putting in an exception for clubs that you are enrolled in. So currently, the only club that I am receiving fiber from is the Hello Yarn Club. But I can spin any of those in 2017 that I receive and want to spin up. But as many spins as I do that are from Stash will count in her thread. And I believe there may be some prizes, but the motivation is to move things through the Stash. And I think I'm also going to add a requirement once a month that I go through my stash and pick a braid that has been in there for a while that I have been waiting to spin for one reason or another. So that is kind of my spinning goal in 2017 and a little bit of an along to work with it. If you are interested in joining, it is open to anyone who enters. You do not have to have a crazy spinning goal. The only goal is to spin from stash. So there is a thread in the Woolly Wonka Fiber group and you can join in and she will ear burn you and add your name to the list. So that is the first set of alongs that I am going to be involved in. There are several people who are doing sweater alongs, and so I will probably join for a little bit of that. And then the next along that I have decided to join is Schnuffeltier, who has the, she's Teresa, and she has the Passionate Spinner podcast. And she is doing a collection of knit alongs that kind of feed into each other. One is to spin your stash. And so, and I don't know that she specifically said stash, but I think she just said hand spun yarn. So I can enter any of my hand spun yarns in there. But the along that she's doing that I am most intrigued by, she is sort of loosely calling the Use Your Book along. Her point is that many of us have knitting books and knitting magazines. They have to be printed publications that you received. So that's what qualifies as, quote, a book. But it can be a subscription to Interweave Knits, whatever it may be. Her point is that many of us have bookshelves full of books and magazines that we have collected over the years, and that often we are swayed in the new publishing industry by a single pattern that gets published, and we think, oh, that's great, and we buy that and we knit that. And this is not to knock that at all, because that is wonderful. But the goal of her along this year, the Use Your Book along, is to go ahead and use the books and magazines that you have in your stash and use patterns from them because you have already paid for them. And because they're sitting on your shelf full of knowledge that you're not using. So this sounded like a great idea to me because I have been dying to, in particular, knit probably 3, 4, 5 sock patterns from the Knitting on the Road pattern, Knitting on the Road book. It is by Nancy Bush and it is all sock patterns. And I had also decided that since I have been collecting tons of sock yarn, that I really wanted to knit more socks in 2017. And so it kind of all dovetails nicely into I'm going to use my magazines and my books to knit socks in 2017. Now I do have some pairs of self-striping sock yarn that I will probably just knit plain vanilla socks, but it makes sense to use patterns that I already own for socks. So I think I'm going to try and do, maybe somewhere between 4 and 6 pairs of socks from books that I own. And I'm definitely going to enter that into Tracy's knit along. You can find that in the Passionate Spinner group on Ravelry. She has a thread ready for that. And there will be prizes in that one too. So those are the knitting goals and spinning goals that I have started to think about for 2017. I don't know if you're starting to think ahead. If you're not, that's fine. We can just finish out this year first. But you know me, I'm a planner. I like my lists. I like my ideas. So that's a little bit of what I will be tackling in 2017. Okay. I think I'm going to stop talking your ear off and let you go. I hope that you are having a wonderful up to holiday season and that you are enjoying crafting. And until I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.